Hi, boys and girls. How are you? Hope you're doing well with your writing, and I'm sure you're getting some great stories down. So, this is Mrs. Freeland. Yesterday, remember, we talked about adding missing words, and that's really important because when someone else reads your story, it can get a little tricky or confusing if there's a word missing and they don't know what you thought in your head to say because you missed that word. So, we have to fix those up and get those missing words in there. Sometimes we're missing more than just a word, right? Someone reads our story and it's still not easy to understand because maybe there's something that we know that happened in our heads, but we didn't write it down. So today, what we're going to talk about is how you can add more than just a word. You can add a whole sentence. All right. But to fit in a whole sentence on my paper would get really messy. So I'm going to show you today how you can create a little extra paper in your paper. We're going to add what's called a flap. A flap is something that goes up and down. So we're going to add a flap with an extra sentence that I probably should have put in my story, but then when I read it again, I thought there needs to be more in there. So if you just have a word or two you need to add, a caret works great because you can usually squeeze it in if you can write small enough. But if you have a sentence to add, I'm going to show you how to add a flap today. So I'm going to read my story. And when I read my story, I'm going to show you where I want to add the sentence, and I'm going to show you how to add it. So at the top, it says, once we were at a football game when a family realized a little girl was missing. She had gone to the stand to buy a pop for her dad. No one could find her. Finally, her dad went down the street to the gas station. She had walked there alone to buy the pop. She was okay. So now I'm going to add that little flap in there where I can add an extra sentence. And the extra sentence I want to add is that the dad always bought his pops at the gas station. So that's where the little girl thought she should go. Okay. Now I'm going to pick where I want that detail to go. I think I'm going to put it after the sentence where it says she had gone to the stand to buy a pop for her dad. Maybe later. No one could find her. Finally, her dad went down the street to the gas station. I'm going to add it right in between here. After no one could find her, I'm going to put her dad remembered that he always bought his pop at the gas station. So, boys and girls, this is how I'm going to add my flap. Okay, I'm going to take some tape. Your teacher will give you tape. And then I'm going to cut at the end of my notebook or my extra paper that my teacher has. I'm going to cut a strip of extra paper. Now mine is really big because it's chart paper. I'm going to put this strip in here, my flap in here, where I want to add my sentence. And I'm going to add it right here. Now it's kind of covering up the sentence, the rest of my story a little bit, but I'll show you what will happen. So here goes my flap. And you say, but Mrs. Freeland, you can't see your words. Look at, we can lift it up, and there's the rest of our story. So I'm going to write on this flap, and this is where I'm going to add my extra sentence. I'm going to say, her dad remembered that he always bought his pop at the gas station. Okay. Now I'm going to read it through another time to add this detail in and then see if you like the story better. It says, once we were at a football game when a family realized a little girl was missing. She had gone to the stand to buy a pop for her dad. No one could find her. Now I'm going to read my flap. Her dad remembered that he always bought his pop at the gas station. Finally, her dad went down the street to the gas station. She had walked there alone to buy the pop. She was okay. Boys and girls, do you see how this flap added my whole sentence in? So if you want to add 1 or 2 sentences, a flap is a great way to do it. Now you don't want a flap that's this big. So if you have to add that much, add a whole nother sheet of paper and write like a little star where you can go to the paper and add your extra section in. So if you have 1 or 2 sentences to add, use a flap. If you have a word to add, use a caret. But if you have 3 or 4 sentences to add, use an extra sheet of paper. Boys and girls, I hope you like that little tool for revising your stories and adding extra details to your stories. It makes them so much better. Okay, have fun revising and adding sentences.